We're going to have a lot of fun tonight.
You're a racist!
Who the hell is I knew this was going to happen. Who is that?
Trump's a racist!
He's racist. That's what professional golfers are saying about Donald Trump. And not just because of what happens off the course. On the fairway, on the green, in the clubhouse, Trump's behavior reveals a pattern that goes much deeper than a bad temper or a few bent rules. Golf is supposed to be the most honest game in the world. The sport polices itself. Players call penalties on themselves. There are no referees watching every shot. The whole game depends on people following the rules because they want to keep the game pure and fair. That's the honor code of golf. It's a code that separates golf from every other sport. It's what makes golf special. But according to people who have played with Trump for decades, he breaks that code constantly. He breaks it deliberately. He breaks it without shame. The story of why matters now more than ever. If you haven't already, hit that hype button and show some love to this video. Seriously, your hype helps creators like us keep making content that tells the real stories. These are conversations worth having, and your support means everything to reaching more people who need to understand the connections between golf, character, and integrity. The game of golf sits on something precious, and that something is honor and trust. It's built on trust. It's built on the idea that everyone wants to play by the same rules. You keep your own score perfectly. You walk to your ball and you hit it from where it lands. You count every stroke carefully. You don't move your ball to a better spot. You don't take mulligans when the match is being scored. You don't pretend you hit a shot when you actually hit 2 or 3. These are the things that make golf different from every other sport. There are no referees on a golf course watching you. The player has to be honest. The player has to care about the truth. And yet, according to people who have spent years playing golf with Donald Trump, he treats these rules like they don't apply to him at all. This isn't a new story. It's been building for years. Golfers have talked about his cheating. Analysts have studied his handicap numbers and said they don't add up. Institutions have made historic decisions because of who Trump is. And now, some of the biggest names in golf are willing to connect the dots. They're saying that what Trump does on the golf course isn't separate from what Trump does in the real world. They're saying it's all the same pattern, a pattern that starts decades earlier, in the 1970s, with lawsuits about who gets to rent apartments in New York. A pattern that reveals something fundamental about how Trump thinks about rules and fairness and other people. A pattern that shows that for Trump, the rules are always negotiable if he has the power to change them. Number 12 is Seth Waugh, the CEO of the PGA of America. And he made an announcement that shocked the golf world. It was January 2021. The board of the PGA decided to pull the 2022 PGA Championship away from Trump National Golf Club, Bedminster. This was huge. A major championship, one of the biggest tournaments in professional golf, was being moved because of Donald Trump. Waugh said the decision came down to brand protection. He said hosting a major championship at a Trump property would be detrimental to the PGA of America brand. He warned that the damage could be irreparable. The damage could have been so bad that it could never be fixed. Why would they do this? Waugh explained that the PGA needed to protect its mission. The mission is to grow the game across diverse communities. The mission is to bring golf to people who haven't traditionally been welcome in the sport. Trump's public image, his rhetoric about race and democracy, created a conflict with that mission. The PGA also had other reasons. They worried about friction with their own members. They worried about international relationships with golf tours in other countries. They worried about diversity programs and sponsorships. They worried about the future. The decision said that future major championship sites through 2034 would exclude all Trump-owned properties to avoid political situations. This wasn't a temporary decision. This was a statement about the future of professional golf. The bottom line was this. The PGA decided that being connected to Trump was bad for business and bad for the values of the game itself. Being associated with Trump threatened everything the PGA was trying to build and everything they stood for. This wasn't the first time the PGA had stepped away from Trump either. Back in 2015, they canceled the Grand Slam of golf in Los Angeles after Trump made comments about Mexican immigrants. But the Bedminster decision was different and more significant. This was a major championship. This was a huge tournament watched by millions of people around the world. And it sent a powerful message to the entire golf world. The sport's governing body had decided that Trump was a liability. Number 11 is Lee Trevino, one of the greatest golfers who ever lived, and someone with deep wisdom about the game and human nature. Trevino has talked about what it's like to play with Trump. Trevino has described the experience as theater. He says playing with Trump isn't really about golf. It's about ego. It's about a performance where Trump gets to be the star and win, no matter what the scorecard says or what actually happened on the course. Trevino hints that the rules of golf don't mean much when you're playing with Trump. It's showmanship. It's a show where Trump writes the script and decides how it ends and who wins. The actual location of the ball, the actual number of strokes. Those things seem less important than the story Trump wants to tell about himself. Number 10 is Jack Nicklaus, who is someone who has supported Trump's political policies and his administration. But even Nicklaus has been critical of Trump and his personal conduct and behavior. He's said that Trump's biggest flaw is his lack of diplomacy in dealing with people. Nicklaus dislikes Trump's constant tweeting and social media presence. He dislikes Trump's divisive style. Even a supporter like Nicklaus recognizes that Trump offends people and causes conflict. Even a supporter like Nicklaus admits that Trump is not the kind of leader who brings people together or unites people around a common purpose. This is important because it shows that the criticism of Trump crosses political lines. It's not just Trump's enemies saying these things. It's people who actually support his policies who are also saying he's got a serious problem with how he treats people and conducts himself. Number 9 is Hank Haney, the former coach of Tiger Woods. Haney is one of the most accomplished golf coaches in history. He knows golf at the elite level. He has worked with the greatest golfer of all time. Haney has looked at Trump's golf game from a technical and analytical perspective. Trump claims to have a handicap of 2.8. For a man in his 70s, that would be elite-level golf. It would put him at the same skill level as former professional golfers or the best amateurs in the country. There are very few people in the world who golf at that level. It's a rarefied level of play. But Haney says that's impossible. Based on what he's seen of Trump's swing mechanics and the way Trump actually plays, a 2.8 handicap doesn't match up with reality. Haney says that if Trump played by real rules and his shots were counted accurately, his handicap would be 15 to 20 strokes higher. That's not a small difference. That's a massive difference. That's the difference between being elite and being an average amateur golfer. That's a discrepancy that cannot be explained by luck or bad days. That's a massive gap that suggests the numbers Trump is reporting simply aren't real. That suggests Trump is fabricating his handicap. Number 8 is Samuel L. Jackson, who is a famous actor and serious golfer. Jackson has spent decades in the entertainment industry. He's known for being truthful and straightforward. Jackson famously called Trump a cheater. Trump responded by saying he didn't even know Samuel L. Jackson. Trump said he'd never played golf with Jackson. Trump's whole response was a denial. But Jackson had receipts. He showed a membership bill from a Trump golf club. He had the documentation that he was a member of a Trump golf club, even though he never requested membership. He never signed up for it. He never agreed to it. But there was a bill. There was a record. Jackson even named former President Bill Clinton as a witness to their past games together. This is important because it shows Trump's willingness to deny reality, even when presented with evidence. Jackson didn't just accuse Trump of cheating on the golf course. He also accused Trump of lying about whether they'd ever met. And Trump's response was to deny the truth when the truth could be proven. That's the pattern. That's what Trump does. When caught, he denies. When confronted with evidence, he denies. When witnesses come forward, he denies. It's a pattern of dishonesty that goes beyond golf. Number 7 is Brad Faxon, who is an 8-time winner on the PGA Tour. Faxon is a serious professional golfer with real credentials. He has earned millions of dollars playing professional golf. He has played in major tournaments. He knows what real golf looks like at the highest level. Faxon played around with Trump, and they had Tiger Woods and Dustin Johnson in their group. Think about that. Tiger Woods is the greatest golfer of all time. Dustin Johnson is one of the best players in the world right now. Brad Faxon is a successful professional golfer, and Trump is in this foursome with 3 elite players. Faxon described a hole where Trump hit 2 balls into the water. That's a clear penalty under the rules of golf. 2 strokes off the tee plus 2 strokes for the penalty equals at least 4 strokes already before he even hits another shot. But Trump took multiple mulligans. He hit extra shots that don't count. He completely ignored the water balls as if they never happened. And then he marked a par on his scorecard. A par means 4 strokes on a par 4 hole. But Trump had hit way more than 4 strokes to get there. The fact that he did this while playing with Tiger Woods and Dustin Johnson shows how confident he is that he's above the rules. It shows how little he cares about what other people think of his cheating. He's willing to do it in front of the best players in the world. Number 6 is Peter Kostis, who is a longtime CBS golf analyst and television personality. Costas has claimed he saw Trump move his ball into better positions while the cameras were rolling. This was during television filming, professional filming, CBS filming. This means Trump was cheating in front of professional broadcast equipment. This means Trump was cheating while the whole world could see him on television. Costas said he saw Trump move his ball multiple times during the filming. He saw Trump toss his ball out of the bunker to a better lie. He saw him improve his position when he thought nobody would notice. Or maybe he didn't care if people noticed. This is damning because it suggests Trump's cheating is so habitual that he does it even when he knows someone is watching, even when he knows cameras are there, even when everything is being recorded and could be replayed. It's not even a conscious choice anymore for Trump. It's just what Trump does. It's automatic. It's second nature. It's built into his character. And that's what makes this so significant. This isn't a one-time mistake. This isn't a golfer having a bad day and making poor choices. This is a pattern of behavior. This is who Trump is. It's automatic for him. Number 5 is Oscar De La Hoya, the boxing legend who played around with Trump at one of his courses. On the first hole, De La Hoya watched Trump hit 4 balls. The first went into the water. The second also went into the water. The third went out of bounds. The fourth went into the bushes. That's 4 bad shots on one hole. 4 shots that all resulted in lost balls or balls out of play. But then Trump drove ahead in his cart and claimed he'd found his original ball in the middle of the fairway. The ball magically appeared in a good spot. How does that happen? How does a ball go from the bushes to the middle of the fairway? It doesn't unless someone moves it. Later, on a par 3 hole, Trump hit a shot that clearly went out of bounds. Anyone watching could see it go over the line, but he claimed his ball was 3 feet from the pin. 3 feet on the green, ready to be putted. He called it a gimme, meaning he didn't even have to putt it. He just counted it as a made hole. De La Hoya summed it up by saying, "I guess it was his course, so it was his rules." This captures the whole philosophy perfectly. When you own the course, when you own the clubhouse, when you own everything around you, the rules don't apply to you anymore. That's the mentality. That's the thinking. And it's not just limited to golf. Number 4 is Suzann Pettersen, who is a legendary golfer who has played professional golf at the highest level. She is an LPGA star. She is someone who knows the game inside and out. She has known Trump for about a decade. That's 10 years of playing golf with him. Pettersen has said, "Trump cheats like hell." Those are her exact words. She's described watching his golf balls perform what look like miracles. No matter how deep into the woods a shot goes, by the time the group walks to the ball, it's sitting in the middle of the fairway. It's like the ball teleported. It's like it moved on its own. It defies physics. It defies logic. But Pettersen has seen it happen again and again and again. She says it's not random. It's not luck. It's a pattern. Pettersen has suggested that Trump pays his caddy well to help with this arrangement. She's hypothesized that money is changing hands to make balls appear in better spots. She's suggested that Trump essentially pays people to help him cheat. She's also said something really important. Trump hasn't changed since becoming president. He has not changed 5 millimeters, is what she said. That means the cheating wasn't something he stopped doing when he got to the White House. The cheating wasn't something he gave up when he became president. It's ongoing. It's consistent. It's who he is. It's baked into his character. Whether he's a businessman or a golfer or a president, the behavior is the same. Number 3 is Brandel Chamblee, who is the lead analyst for the Golf Channel. Chamblee has been vocal about the moral problem Trump represents for golf. Chamblee has said Trump's history of discrimination shows a lack of moral fiber. He's being direct and clear. Moral fiber. That's not a phrase you use lightly. That's a serious accusation about someone's character and their values. Chamblee points to the 1970s lawsuits as evidence of this lack of moral fiber. He connects Trump's rule-breaking in business to his rule-breaking on the golf course. Chamblee has called Trump's presence in golf a stain on the game. A stain is something that marks and damages something permanently, or at least for a long time. He said that golf should not be associated with someone who has a documented history of discrimination against minorities. He said that the sport's values of integrity and inclusion are at stake when the game's leaders partner with Trump. For Chamblee, this isn't just about golf. This is about what the sport represents, and what it stands for, and what kind of future it wants to have. The choice to partner with Trump is a choice about values. Number 2 is Rory McIlroy, who is a 4-time major champion. He's one of the best golfers in the world today. He's won multiple major championships. He's a household name in golf. For a while, McIlroy seemed friendly with Trump. They seemed to have a cordial relationship. But in 2020, during the racial justice protests after George Floyd's death, McElroy made a firm decision. He publicly said he would not play with Trump again. He said Trump's leadership style was divisive. He said Trump's rhetoric during a time of national racial tension was wrong. He was clear and direct. McElroy's shift was important because he's one of the biggest names in professional golf. When someone of his stature says they won't associate with Trump, it sends a powerful message to other players. It gives them permission to distance themselves too. McElroy was saying that some things are more important than politics or business or personal relationships. Some things are about basic values and basic decency. Some things are about standing up for what's right, even if it costs you something personally or professionally. Number 1 is Rick Riley, who is a Hall of Fame sports writer who has observed Trump's game for more than 30 years. Riley is the one who has made the boldest connection. He has explicitly linked Trump's housing discrimination lawsuit from 1973 to his behavior on the golf course today. Riley documented how the Trump organization used coded language to discriminate. They used a C for colored on apartment applications. They used a 9 to mark minority applicants. When testers from the New York City Human Rights Division came to Trump buildings, white applicants were shown available apartments. Black applicants were told there were no vacancies. But there were vacancies. The vacancies just weren't for them. This went on for years. In 1975, Trump agreed to provide weekly vacancy lists to the Urban League and to use equal housing advertising. He agreed to follow fair housing practices and stop discrimination. But then, in 1978, there was another lawsuit. Trump was violating the terms of the settlement. The discrimination continued even after he promised to stop. Trump wasn't following the agreement he had made. The government had to sue again. By 1983, a statistical review was conducted on Trump properties. And what did they find? 2 Trump Village properties remained over 95% white. 95%. That's not a coincidence. That's not random chance. That's a pattern. That's systematic. That's intentional and calculated. The government documented it with data. The courts confirmed it with legal findings. And Riley says this reveals the core of who Trump is as a person. This reveals his worldview completely. This shows how he thinks about rules and how he thinks about fairness. If you can systematically discriminate against black families trying to find housing, then you can cheat at golf. If you can create a system of coded language to hide your discrimination, then you can manipulate your handicap score. It's the same character. It's the same person. Riley's argument is that this same attitude shows up on the golf course. If you view rules as obstacles to be bypassed, rather than standards to be followed, you bypass them everywhere. If you're willing to discriminate in housing, you're willing to cheat at golf. If you're willing to commit fraud in business, you're willing to manipulate your handicap. It's all the same mindset. It's the same philosophy throughout his entire life. You see the rules as things that apply to other people, not to you. They apply to regular people. They apply to minorities trying to rent apartments and find homes. They apply to golfers following the official rulebook. But you think you're above all that. You believe that the rules are obstacles for other people and that you have the power to ignore them. The testers who went to Trump buildings in the 1970s, they were looking to see if the Trump organization treated people fairly. What they found was a systematic pattern of discrimination. It wasn't one landlord making bad decisions. It wasn't a series of isolated incidents. It was a system. It was coded. It was deliberate. And it was documented by the government. The C for colored marking on applications, that wasn't a typo. That wasn't a mistake. That was a system designed to identify and exclude black applicants. And that kind of thinking doesn't just disappear when you move to the golf course. Riley also documented something called the Pele nickname. At Winged Foot Golf Club, the only major club Trump belongs to that he doesn't own, the caddies gave Trump a nickname. They called him Pele, after the legendary Brazilian soccer star. The reason was that Trump frequently kicked his golf ball out of the rough and onto the fairway consistently. It's a joke, but it's also a serious observation. The caddies recognized that Trump's athletic achievements at Winged Foot were manufactured. They weren't real. The ball was being moved by Trump's foot, not by Trump's golf swing. These people who work at the club every single day, they see what Trump does. They see how he plays. And they gave him a nickname that mocks his cheating. They created a name for it. They talked about it among themselves. They normalized it enough that it became an inside joke. But it was also a way of saying, we know what you're doing, and we're not fooled by it. Riley issued a public challenge to Trump. He offered Trump $100,000 if Trump would play a round of golf under professional referee supervision. A refereed match with witnesses to prove that his 2.8 handicap is real and accurate. Trump never accepted the challenge. That tells you something right there, clearly. If your handicap is accurate, if you really are that good, you would take the money and prove it. You would show the world that you can play at that level. But Trump didn't. He wouldn't do it. Why? Because he knows that if the match is refereed, if the rules are enforced, if someone is actually watching and checking his score, he will be exposed. The pattern that emerges from all of this is crystal clear. Golf is built on honor. Golf depends on people who care about the truth. Golf requires you to report your score honestly, even when nobody is watching. But Trump has shown for decades that he does the opposite. He cheats when people are watching. He cheats when the cameras are rolling. He cheats with Tiger Woods and Dustin Johnson right there seeing it. He cheats because he thinks the rules don't apply to him. He cheats because he believes power and wealth exempt him from the standards that apply to regular people. And when he's caught, he denies it. He says he never met Samuel L. Jackson, even though Jackson has a membership bill. He claims his ball was in a place it couldn't have been. He marks scores that don't match his strokes. The denials are as important as the cheating because they show a willingness to deny objective reality. And the people who know this best, the professional golfers and analysts who've spent time around him, are now saying that his behavior on the golf course reveals something important about who he is as a person. They're saying that the cheating isn't just about golf. It's about a worldview. It's about seeing rules as obstacles. It's about prioritizing your own ego over everything else. It's about a willingness to deny reality when the truth is inconvenient. It's about believing that because you have money and power, the normal rules don't apply to you. The housing discrimination cases from the 1970s show that this isn't new. The coded markings, the refusal to rent to black families, the violations of settlements, the statistical evidence that properties stayed predominantly white. These are things that happened decades ago. They're documented. They're in court records. And according to critics like Rick Riley and Brandel Chambly, they reveal the core of who Trump is. The golf cheating is consistent with the housing discrimination. The denials, when caught, are consistent with Trump's denial to Samuel L. Jackson that they'd ever played together. It's all part of the same pattern. The PGA of America's decision to move the championship wasn't made in a vacuum. Seth Waugh and the board didn't just wake up one day and decide to pull the tournament without serious deliberation and analysis. They were responding to mounting pressure from players and from the public. They were responding to a recognition that golf's future depends on growth among diverse communities. They understood that the golf community includes women and minorities and international players. They were responding to a conflict between Trump's public image and the sport's stated values of inclusion and fairness. They were responding to the voices of players like Rory McIlroy and analysts like Brandel Chambly, who spoke up about their concerns. They were responding to a reality that the golf world had finally come to terms with. The damage to the brand would be irreparable. That's what Waugh said. Irreparable damage. That means damage that cannot be fixed. That means long-term harm to the sport's reputation. That means they saw Trump as a genuine threat to everything the PGA has been trying to build. And so they made their decision. They said, no, we're not doing this. We're not hosting the championship at a Trump property. And we're making sure that future championships won't be hosted at Trump properties either, through 2034. That's more than a decade. That's a commitment that says we're serious about this decision. This doesn't mean golf is perfect. Golf has a history of exclusion. Golf clubs historically kept out women and minorities. Golf was a sport for the wealthy and privileged. But golf is trying to change. Golf is trying to grow. Golf is trying to become more inclusive. And that mission is incompatible with being associated with Trump. That mission requires partners who share those values. That mission requires people who care about fairness and inclusion. Trump is the opposite. Trump is about exclusion. Trump is about rules for thee, but not for me. What makes this story matter is what it reveals about character. If you cheat at golf if you move the ball when nobody's looking, if you take mulligans that nobody agreed to, if you count a par when you hit 5 strokes, what does that say about you? If you move the ball even when the cameras are rolling, what does that say about you? If you deny knowing someone when you know them, if you deny a bill when the bill exists, what does that say about you? It says you are willing to lie. It says you are willing to cheat. It says you don't believe the rules apply to you. The golfers who have spoken up, the ones who have played with Trump, the ones who have studied his game, the ones who have analyzed his handicap, they're all saying the same thing. Trump's relationship with rules is broken. Trump's relationship with truth is broken. Trump plays by a different set of standards than everyone else. And he's okay with that. He doesn't seem to have any shame about it. He doesn't apologize. He just keeps doing it. For professional golfers, this matters. Rory McIlroy, a player who could play with anyone, decided he wouldn't play with Trump. That's a choice. That's a statement about values. Lee Trevino describes it as theater, as if Trump isn't really playing golf, but just performing on a golf course. Jack Nicklaus, even while supporting Trump, has to admit that Trump lacks diplomacy and offends people. Brandel Chambly says the sport's moral fiber was compromised by association with Trump. All of these statements are important. All of these voices matter. They're all saying that something is wrong. The institutional response from the PGA matters too. When Seth Waugh and the board decided to move the championship, they were saying that the values of professional golf are more important than the prestige of hosting a major tournament at a Trump property. They were saying that growing the game among diverse communities is more important than associating with Trump. They were saying that the long-term mission of the PGA is incompatible with being connected to Trump. They were saying that the damage to the brand would be irreparable. That's a strong statement. That's a statement that comes from deep analysis and deep concern. But here's what's important to understand. The golf world is reflecting something larger. It's reflecting a country trying to grapple with questions of character and integrity. It's reflecting an institution saying that values matter. It's reflecting players saying that who someone is matters more than what they claim to be. It's reflecting a realization that you cannot build an inclusive future with someone who has a documented history of discrimination and exclusion. The story of Trump and golf is ultimately a story about truth. Can you trust someone who lies about whether he's played golf with Samuel L. Jackson when there's a membership bill? Can you trust someone whose balls magically appear in the fairway when they were just in the woods? Can you trust someone who claims to shoot rounds in the 60s when he's never broken 80? Can you trust someone whose handicap is claimed to be elite level when every technical expert says it's impossible? Can you trust someone who used coded language to deny housing to black families? The answer is no. You can't trust any of that. The golfers are saying no. They're saying you can't trust that. They're saying the pattern is clear. They're saying that what you do on the golf course matters because it shows who you are. And who Trump is on the golf course is someone who cheats and lies and refuses to acknowledge reality. For the sport of golf, this moment represents a choice. Golf can choose to be a game that depends on honor and truth. Golf can choose to stand up for its values and protect its mission to grow the game among all communities. Golf can choose to associate itself with figures who represent integrity. The PGA made that choice. The professional golfers who spoke up made that choice. And that choice sends a message. The players, the analysts, the institutions, they're all sending a message. They're saying that golf is bigger than any one course. Golf is bigger than any one tournament. Golf is bigger than any one player or owner. Golf is a game, and the game matters. The rules matter. The truth matters. The values matter. And when someone comes along who is willing to ignore all of that, to cheat and lie and deny reality, the golf world now knows what to do. They step back, they speak up, they protect the game, and they protect the values that the game represents. This is the story that the golfers are telling. This is the story that the institutions are confirming by their actions. And this is the story that matters now more than ever, because it goes to the heart of who we are as a society and what values we actually care about defending. Because what happens in golf doesn't stay in golf. What we tolerate in sports, we tolerate in society. What we accept from our leaders in one arena, we accept in another. And the golf world has decided it's not willing to accept Trump's approach to rules and truth anymore. That's what these golfers are saying loud and clear. That's what the PGA is saying with their decision. That's what really matters. That's the message that echoes beyond the fairways and into the broader culture. The game of golf is saying that character counts, that integrity matters, that truth is more important than ego. And that's a message we should all be listening to carefully. Because if someone will cheat at golf, they will cheat at business. If someone will lie about playing with Samuel L. Jackson, they will lie about other things. If someone will create systems to discriminate against people trying to rent apartments, they will do other harmful things. The pattern reveals the person. The behavior shows who you are. And the golf world has looked at Trump's behavior and decided they want no part of it. The golf world has said that some things are more important than money. Some things are more important than prestige. Some things are more important than hosting a major tournament. Values are more important. Integrity is more important. Truth is more important. And that's a stand that matters. That's a stand that sends a message to the rest of the world. That's a stand that says, we care about who we're associated with. We care about what we stand for. We care about the values we represent. And when those values come into conflict with profit or prestige, we choose the values. That's what the PGA did. That's what the golfers did. And that's what we should all do in our own lives. We should all ask ourselves what we stand for. What values do we actually have? Are we willing to defend those values even when it costs us something? The golf world answered that question. Now it's up to all of us to think about how we answer it in our own lives. That's what this story is really about. That's why it matters.